John Oetjens, and welcome to Schooling Around. Expo time at Oxford High School. Fifth grade exhibitions are going strong. New this year, middle year personal projects. And the E-Voyager comes to Lakeville Elementary. All this and more coming up.
A small town with a lot of heart and history. A hidden gem with a sense of community. Welcome to Leonard.
Our Lego League has been around in the elementary schools for a long time, but they've never had an official first Lego League Expo. Not until now, that is. You're probably familiar with the name FIRST from our high school robotics team. Well, the FIRST organization is also behind Lego Leagues. The Oxford Junior First Lego League Expo was a big deal to these kids. Mentor Katie Fallon has more.
The importance of this event is to showcase the elementary students their projects. At the elementary school level, they don't have a competition, they have a showcase where all of the students show off their projects. The high school team comes around and they take clipboards and they ask questions as a mock judging session, but it's really just reviewing. This preps the elementary students for the upper elementary competition, which preps them for middle school, which preps them for high school, where hopefully they end up at Worlds like our high school.
You've got some middle school kids here too, don't you? What are they doing?
They're just showcasing. At every expo, we try to have all 4 programs. The middle school team at the far end, they have a robot, and they're just showing the elementary school kids, hey, when you get to our program, this is awesome.
The kids tell us more about their projects. There were even some middle schoolers there.
House, pizza house, garbage can, garbage truck, conveyor belt that leads to the dump and dump.
And what does it do?
This?
Yeah, the whole thing.
So it starts here. It starts here. Then it goes into the garbage can. The garbage man picks it up and puts it in here. They drive to the garbage dump. They put it on the conveyor belt like this. Then you turn it on and it goes into the dump.
So this is a grinder and it grinds up the plastic, which makes it go into the heater, which melts it, so they make it into something new.
This can go on the belt, and the color sensor can sort what goes where. So, and as you can see, the blue will go into the trash, the green will go into the trash, yellow goes into the recycling, and the red goes with the recycling too, mostly because we have our computer brain with our color sensor, making it so it will show which way to make it go.
This is a recycling field for our robot to complete missions on the recycling field, and there are tons of different recycling missions on this field that our robot does. Do you want to explain some of the missions?
Mike Schallenberg is one of the coaches.
Yes, I think it's really good. It gets the kids involved, makes them think, lets them build things and see what happens when they build something. They can make stuff that moves. They also can do research and stuff to find out about specific topics. Anywhere from this year it was recycling and trash, and how to deal with the trash that we make, and how to make better trash, or make less trash, or dispose of the trash we do have, make properly, or recycling it.
What grades are your kids in?
The FLL runs is 4th and 5th grade, and the junior FLL goes from kindergarten up to 3rd grade.
And once again, for the sake of our listeners, what does FLL stand for?
First Lego League. First is first in recognition of science and technology. and it's a program set up, and they run First Lego League, Junior First Lego League, FTC, which is First Tech Challenge, which is the middle school 6th through 8th, and FRC, which is First Robotics Challenge, which is the high school team, which is the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th.
They look forward to making this an annual experience. Next, the latest IB comes to TV. Stay tuned.
Canine Stray Rescue is Oxford's own local dog rescue. Call them at 248-628-0435 or go to their website dogsaver.org and click on the Canine Stray Rescue League link.
If it's spring, it's time for 5th grade exhibition. Clear Lake Elementary got things started this year. One of the groups at Lakeville concentrated on circulatory malfunctions. I'll let them tell you more.
So 5th grade exhibition is where we pick a real world topic that we would like to fix or help with the process, and so we chose circulatory malfunctions, which is involved with your heart and your veins and your blood, and so we decided to help with that problem of all the different diseases.
What made you guys decide that?
I decided it because I had a hole in the heart myself, and my topic is holes in the heart, so that's why I picked my topic.
Mine is heart attacks.
So you're dealing with a heart too, but you're dealing with heart attacks.
Yes.
Do you have somebody in your family who had one?
I have a reason. My mom's cousin had a heart attack, and he was in the 30s.
Oh my. Okay. And how about you?
Well, I'm doing heart disease. It's just that I really care about it because I just really care about other people's health.
Part of the project was sending gift baskets to kids at Children's Hospital. They wanted to put out a word of thanks to those who helped.
We would like to thank all of our local sponsors in the community that have helped us get money for our action plan to get baskets for the Children's Hospital in Detroit.
And we thank you very much.
We thank you to donate.
Did you want to ask for more donations?
If anybody is interested in giving us donations, we would very much appreciate that.
And what kinds of things are you looking for?
We were looking for toys, coloring books, and we're doing it from certain ages 6 to 16. So we were thinking anything that kids, boys and girls, would like.
Okay, so you're going to put these in baskets and you're going to deliver
Yes.
them to Children's Hospital.
To the Detroit Children's Hospital.
To the Detroit Children's Hospital. Next, the IB Middle Year program cranks it up a notch this year. That's next.
Hey Lakeville, you're watching OCTV.
Our Middle Year IB program involves kids from grades 6 through 10. Some changes are afoot this year. They have to do with grading and the introduction of the 10th grade personal project. I sat down with teachers Joe Amabile and Molly Darnell, who fill us in.
So I think the biggest change that has occurred is kind of our personal project pilot and the reporting of IB grades that's happening right now. The reporting of IB grades is comparable to a standards-based system, and so we're in the initial stages of that. I'd like to take from the middle school that be excellent every day. As we move forward, we're trying to be more and more excellent every day. We make mistakes along the way too, and we're learning from them. But so far, so that first initial report card went out, and we'll expect a second report card in June to go out. And then with the personal project, we're starting a pilot this year. We have 16 kids who are doing an independent investigation to a subject that they are most interested in. And it typically, I know that I'm finding with my group, it relates to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And something that kind of they find to be of interest from the very beginning. So they do an investigation, they prep what sort of action they would want to take. They take that action, they reflect upon that action, and then they demonstrate that action. And throughout that process, they have a mentor that they work with.
Some of the kids tell us about their personal project.
I am going to compose my own piece of music. Yes.
Have you had music lessons before or anything?
Yes, I'm in band and I play a couple instruments.
Oh, is it going to be a big long symphony or is it going to be a short jazz piece or what?
I'm thinking I know more how to work with brass instruments than anything else. I tried to incorporate other instruments from an orchestra or something like that.
So I'm collaborating with the local NPR station, 101.9 WDET, to help produce a radio show about sampling in music, analyzing the legal aspects of it. And I want to try to analyze how radio influences culture in modern day, in even just throughout the 20th century, to try to understand how radio has influenced our history and just overall the spread of intelligence, knowledge, and culture in general.
So do you think radio is getting any better or is it getting worse?
Well, I think unfortunately that to survive in the world, media has become a little bit more dumbed down. But I still think it's in a situation right now where we can spread news. You can hear about current events happening within 30 minutes of it happening. You can also hear music, like learn new forms of music, new songs and stuff like that, which I think is really interesting.
I'm doing a personal project on the effects of music on people's productivity and thinking skills, so like different genres of music like classical, just like over like the range of different types of music, and versus people's perception of how they think it affects them versus how it actually does.
Now, what inspired you to choose that?
I'm not really sure. I've always kind of been like interested in psychology and like music. I listen to music all the time, so I thought it would just be interesting to think about like how it affects me and if there's a way that I can improve my focus.
I'm doing something about like women leaders and versus like men leaders, and well, I just changed it from doing like team sport leaders, so I'm still figuring it out what I'm gonna do and like kind of educating people on like the real message of like feminism too.
So what are you finding out? Are the women better than the men?
Yeah.
What inspired you to do that? What inspired you to pick that subject?
When we were like just talking in our groups over there, I kind of like as we talked, I realized I like doing that better.
I am researching a disease in the nervous system, and then I'm going to look at treatment options, one of which will likely be surgery, and then I'll create a model of the brain and the spinal cord and simulate the surgery.
So my personal project is the process of writing a book. So I'm just basically going through like what you have to do to write a book.
The steps you have to take, and not only putting it together, you're going to get into the publishing aspect of it too?
The biggest like part about being a writer is like finishing the book. So I'm just mainly going to like focus on like finishing it, and then I'll like revise it and everything, and I'll have like a manuscript to turn in, but I'm not going to go into publishing.
For my personal project, I'm doing like, do you have to be miserable to be funny? Like with comedy, and how the more miserable stand-up comedians are more funny, and like how repetitive work, like doing stand-up every single night, like makes you miserable and going into bad habits such as drugs or alcohol. And yeah, how it affects your mental health.
My personal project, I'm doing research on political ignorance, where I talk about people, where how they need to understand how important politics are in society, and how the government really is important, and people should really pay attention to things such as like political, like parties, views, candidates running for president. A lot of people say they don't want to vote, and that's a sign of political ignorance. And they say that it's really not that important as for one vote, and really it can really change the whole game.
So for my personal project, I'm doing it on meditation and like why we do it and what effect it has on the body, physical, mentally, and emotionally.
Is this something you're just learning about, or have you been doing it on your own?
Prior to this, I've done it before, and lately I've been doing as much, so I feel this will work as an incentive to do it some more.
What inspired you to do that subject?
I think it was actually my mother, because she usually meditated as well, And then she told me I should try it just in case I needed to reduce stress.
That's helped her out, huh?
Yeah, it has.
You didn't cause the stress for her, did you?
I hope not.
Next, more from Joe and Molly about how all this comes together.
You're watching Oxford Community Television, serving Addison and Oxford Townships, keeping it local.
So the middle year personal projects are becoming a reality in Oxford. Joe Amabile had some thoughts on the subjects chosen.
I think the biggest struggle that they're having right now is the action planning piece. How to take action. They have an interest. Everybody has an interest, and I think it's exciting to watch them talk about, what their personal interests are, but how to actually take action and answer a question that they have about, their topic. I think it's the answering a question that they don't already have a previous opinion on. A lot of their research questions, they already have an idea of what they think the outcome is. Well, to be neutral and unbiased and creating a plan that's going to give them an answer that they maybe won't expect. And I think it's exciting to sit in small groups like we did today and to just listen to their thought process.
Well, up until now in the Oxford School District with the International Baccalaureate program we have, with the elementary school kids, you had 5th grade exhibition, which is coming up in fact, it's already last night, I think they had the first one. And of course that involved a group of students and a mentor taking on a project and doing a presentation. Sure. And in the 11th and 12th grade, you have the diploma program, where you have the high school kids, actually they do like kind of a thesis, don't they?
Correct, yes.
But now with these kids, explain how what they're doing is different from those.
So it's really comparable to exhibition, except for it's an individual rather than a group-based project. I also think that their action looks a little bit different. Or it can look a little bit different. I think that in the elementary, just given their age, it looks what's developmentally appropriate for a 5th grader to do and developmentally appropriate for a 10th grader to do, and what they can, not only the action that they can take, but the ideas that they have and that they can act on are quite different. So that's really the initial.
Yeah, I would say, at the high school level, it's more of an intrinsically motivated project as opposed to an exhibition. You have a group setting as more, external factors motivating these students. I'm sure, you were able to film some of the students and their projects earlier. And a lot of that is just how do you foster that intrinsic motivation? I think that's the biggest difference.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
But as I talked to the individual students this morning, contrary to the younger kids with the 5th grade exhibition, I don't get as much of the sense of doing something to make the world a cleaner place or a better place or whatever, but more of a personal sort of thing, learning about a certain subject. Am I misconstruing that? Or?
In a sense, I'd say it's a little more academic, and yeah, it can be. If they wanted to do something where they're impacting the community, they absolutely can. But a personal project is more, your own personal interest, fostering that your knowledge and
I think what you have too out of our kids is they're sophomores. They're starting to take a look at what do they want to do with the rest of their lives. So they're really honed in on what interests them, and taking action in that area of interest. They don't have all the answers for that. So it could be very much about if they are a global environmental, that is their passion, you would see that in a personal project. But you might not as well. There's definitely that personal interest and that personal component.
They have that latitude, don't they?
Absolutely.
It's interesting, one of the girls actually picked that, what you just said about sorting out your life and setting your goals as being the subject of her personal project.
I think at an exhibition level, an elementary level, that's kind of a little premature if we tried to do that at an elementary level.
You mean those kids are too young to decide what they want to do in college?
I think so, right? Yeah.
Well, they might have an idea. Who
Everybody
knows?
wants to be a basketball
but there has to be a developmental progression
Sure.
in terms of the student. And the other thing that I think you're going to see that's different between exhibition and 10th grade, and what you would see that's also different in that diploma program, is the level of research skills that students have. So what's developmentally, where are they at with their research skills? And I think what Joe had said earlier regarding, they kind of have this, you know, oftentimes when they come into research, they have this set idea of what they think they're going to find. As a 10th grader, that's pretty consistent. They think that they'll find what they're looking for, and they might not. And I think that's the shift that you start to see in 11th and 12th grade, as they realize, oh, there might be different ideas that exist out
And
there.
then how do you take action to get to that unknown, right?
Okay, so eventually this will be a requirement. This year it's voluntary, but still very much the real thing.
This is an expectation and a requirement by IB. So, this is our pilot with only 16 kids, so that, you know, this is a learning experience for us too. And we've taken note on what the elementaries have done and what the diploma program has done with theirs to help us figure it out. We've also met with different personal project groups across the state and gotten ideas from them. But Oxford's unique because Oxford's, you know, Oxford.
And what about next year?
A little bit of it's based on the changes that we'll have to make for next year, but some of it's based on planning, and that's done at an administrative level in terms of what we can do in order to offer it to a wider or a larger variety of kids. I don't think we can go from 16 to the 300 kids in class. I think that might be taking on a little bit too much. So what I see happening is folding in a few more teachers to run this through. But because this is a personal independent project, the time is not really a difference with the exhibition, is it's not done in the class day in the classroom. So that's, again, a logistical issue that we have to work out with administration and how that looks.
And I think we'll know more in June.
So did you find enough interest this year?
I would have been happy if we had 5 kids. I mean, these kids are doing this completely on their own.
And how many do you have?
16. And they've stayed from the beginning. I think we had a couple, we might have had about 18 in the beginning, but they have continued to work in it. What's really interesting is how, like even today when we met in our groups, they've kind of stuck in their pockets of friends, but today in their groups, how they were sharing with each other, and really that's that community and collaboration component we're trying to build into the project, and so that's exciting.
I don't think we, I sometimes entrust students with enough credit to be able to come up with ideas, and it was very interesting to see in the groups today just some of the thoughts and some of how they interacted in terms of academic topics, and it was just it was a little humbling to sit there, and I think it's there, I mean, every student has these thoughts, and how we can best grow and how we can best get these ideas out there, and hopefully, at a next year a much larger scale,
And I hope one thing they got out of today is we don't hold all the answers.
Right.
They are a wealth of information within their own community, and to use each other for that information and for that collaboration. So I think that's something else they
I think the stereotype of a teenage kid is they're always on their iPhone and they're always playing video games, and just this is what they. But I mean, I had conversations with students today about interest in meditation, interest in political views, interest in gouache. I learned what gouache was today. It's an art form that these are things that you see students walk through the hallway every day, and you don't realize that this is what they're thinking about.
Okay, so have you seen The Revenant yet? That's nothing compared to Geno Picor. He's the E-Voyager, and he came to Lakeville Elementary last week. Next. Geno Picor decided to reinvent himself. Once upon a time, he was a school teacher. Upon retirement, he thought he'd try acting, which he did for a while. Then he decided to spread the word of his ancestors. That's when he became the E-Voyager.
Well, first of all, I'm a retired public school teacher and was proud to have been one for so long. Before I retired, back in 1997, I auditioned for a professional theater company and was with the theater company that specialized in French country dancing. Well, this was my heritage, so it seemed like a good fit. After 3 years, I decided to go out on my own, so actually I've been doing this for 16 years. And now, since I retired in 2012, I'm on the road quite a bit. I just got back from the west side of the state.
So are you predominantly in Michigan?
Predominantly in Michigan, although I've performed, let's see, New York, Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, and I know Illinois.
What inspired you to do this?
Heritage, ancestry.
Tell me a little bit about what your goals are with the kids when you put on these I want to say performances, but it's more than that. Sure. It's an educational adventure.
Well, just before I retired, I went back to school at Eastern Michigan University and got a master's in theater and a cognate in interpretive performance studies. The idea behind this was to bring more historical evidence to children. The interpretive performance studies is more like the anthropology or history of performance or theater. And of course, what we read in the history books is just a small piece of what the voyageurs accomplished when they were here. The voyageurs were the workers. They moved supplies from one place to another. What stories did they tell? What songs did they sing? They had to know French, of course. It was their native language, but they also had to learn the language of the people in which the indigenous people which they did business with. So that could have been the Anishinaabe, that could have been farther to the west, the Illinois, the Renard, the Sauk, farther to the east, the Huron. So all of those, those influences contributed to French culture within specific regions of what is now the United States, as the French settled into those regions.
Well, this sure gives the kids a fresh new look at the state of Michigan and their own heritage, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely, sure.
I mean, some of this stuff we used to only see little bits and pieces of in old westerns and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It's really great that you're coming around and explaining it in depth and performing and getting the kids to be a part of all this stuff.
The storytelling has to be interactive. Children will remember that if they have some physical movement or take part in the story as a character. The other component that I wanted to bring was archaeological artifacts, the study of archaeology. Archaeology puts the story in history, and one of those magazines over there, I recently had an article published with that title, Archaeology Puts the Story in History. I write for 5 magazines, the Mackinac Journal, Great Lakes Pilot, Smoke and Fire Magazine, and also Michigan History for Kids. Occasionally, this was my first article in the Chronicle, which is the magazine of the Historical Society of Michigan. Archaeology has the potential to bring together all the 4 core curricula, whether that's math, science, social studies, and language arts. And that's what I hope to impart to the children. That history is just more than a collection of facts. It's really, it's the 4 core areas working together to make a story which they can understand.
Geno also brings some artifacts for the kids to see.
This collection here is really the culmination of 15 years of study. And I like to make sure that what I get, and some of these are replications, but some of these are also real artifacts. So they're to be treated with respect. And the goal is, of course, to have the kids hold them and touch them and feel them and get an understanding of how, in some ways, tool making evolved over the years.
So everything old is new again. That's Schooling Around for this week. Thanks to Kyle Snage at the controls, Dan Zweiss at the editing desk, and you for watching. This is Oxford Community Television, keeping it local.